So pick a foot to start on. We're going to put the ball right in the, basically, if you think of the palm of your hand on the bottom of your foot, right in that space. So out here by the big toe, right back, right in that space. Back here by the heel, up by the ball of the foot, all in that space. Think of 3 zones, that inner zone, middle zone, and then that outer edge way out by that pinky side. There's somebody else. All right, so just started rolling the feet. Think about our zones. Remember, as we roll, we want to do a little bit with the toes relaxed, but also a little bit with the toes kind of pulled up and spread apart. Right? Because what we want to work on is that pin and stretch. So remember, the pin is the ball, and the stretch is really spreading out the toes. Right? So as you're rolling here, I want you to feel for tenderness or trigger points, whatever you want to call them. And then if you find one, go ahead and stop, press down, hold, breathe, and then really lift and spread the toes. Do that about 3 or 4 times. And then come off. And then roll again. Search for another spot. You find it, push down and hold on that spot. That's our pin. And then lift and spread the toes nice and wide. That's our stretch. Rock off. And keep rolling. Big inhales and exhales. Right. So instead of rolling and then hook it out, I want you to just, as soon as you find that trigger point, see if you can get some movement in there. I'm finding quite a few on this foot today. And as I lift and spread my toes nice and wide, I can feel that activation of the muscles, especially around my knee today. So just feel what this work is doing for your body. Give it what it needs. And we're just going to go about 30 more seconds on this side. And we'll switch to the other side. And don't forget the breath here. Remember, you want to think about inhale, expanding that rib cage all the way around, and the exhale. Think about sending all that tightness, that tension away. Good. All right, let's shake out that leg. And just because, let's do a little comparison, right? One leg balance on one side and the other. Right side I roll just feels so much more active and stable here. My feet are wide, right? My toes, they automatically just kind of grip into the floor without me having to think about it. Right? All right, let's switch sides. So, remember my rule? It shouldn't hurt, right? It might be a kind of hurt that feels good kind of feeling. It shouldn't be like take your breath away kind of hurt. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, do what you need to do. So if you find that you've got tightness on one side but not so much on the other, work on the side that you need. Big inhales and exhales here. Find a tight spot, press down, right? Move the toes, rock off. Press down, hold, move the toes, rock off. All right. Okay, so we're going to go back to that first foot, do something a little bit new here. So I want you to roll and find a spot and then just push down and hold. So I have my ball just below the ball of the foot, right in the middle. I'm going to push down there. You can put it there, you can put it somewhere else. Then you're going to take your other foot and not going to push down really hard. You're going to put kind of right on the top, and I just kind of want you to twist that foot on the top a little bit. What we're doing is just kind of grabbing. So if this is the top of my foot, I'm going to kind of grab that skin and just kind of twist it a little bit. And again, breaking up some of the fascia. Fascia obviously isn't as dense on the top of your foot as it is on the bottom, but we still want to just loosen it up. So now I'm doing this motion here. Just trying to move that space around. So whether it's just kind of a twist or kind of a ironing out, I guess, is the best way to describe that motion. But shake that out. See how that feels. Go ahead and switch to the other side. So I've got the ball just below the ball of my foot, right in the middle. Okay, heels on the floor, foot is stable. Toes are just kind of relaxed over the ball, and then I'm taking that other foot and just kind of letting the friction move those tissues around. I'm going to kind of just do that little ironing out just over the top of my foot. And then shake that out, right? And take these final 30 seconds here to just roll either foot. Maybe do a little in-out movement. We haven't done that yet. Letting that ball just roll across the ball of the foot or just below it. A little bit on both sides. Good. Okay, so now we're going to come down to the floor. And this is where if you have a yoga brick, you can use it. Not absolutely necessary. Stack of books will work. Or you can just go right on the floor. So what the brick does, just brings the floor up a little bit higher. Makes it a little bit easier to get that ball into the tissues. Right? So we're going to roll the calf muscles next, right? Remember we have the two calf muscles, the gastroc and the soleus, the outer muscle being that gastroc, and that's what I'm going to target first. So here I'm working that outer leg bone, so I'm going to just kind of nestle the ball right up next to it. So we talk about little bony landmarks of kind of being your guide here. So we don't want to roll on bones, but we want to roll just kind of right next to it, and those muscles that attach next to the bone. So I've got the ball just kind of nuzzled up against that outer leg bone. And then as I find a tight spot, so I've got a knot right here, I'm just going to move my foot. See, I'm pulling my toe up, and I'm doing a little bit of an in and out pattern. I'm just trying to get that knot that I found right here, and it's a good one. You can actually feel it clunking on either side of the ball here as I move. And it's just released, so it's no longer doing that. That's what you want to look for, those tight spots, and then just kind of try to work that space. Get that tightness to just release and relax. Remember the analogy of that knot in your bread dough, right? You're not right in the middle and you tug it from either side. It's really not going to move it all, or you're going to tear the tissues on either side of that knot. So we want to try to get rid of the knot. Imagine rolling it out like this bread dough. And then we get that muscle to contract and relax. We should be able to get that full contract, relax response from it. Okay, so switching to the other side anytime you want. And I'm going to show from this side, that was mostly that outer edge, but I'm just going to show you for angle's sake here how to get to that soleus. So I'm going to grab the big gastroc, that's the one that's in my hand here, the meaty part, I'm going to pull it away. And then where my fingers end up is kind of right underneath there, I can access the soleus. So remember the soleus is the primary mover for our ankle, right? Especially that flexion action. We don't want to lose that as we age. We want to get that shuffle, right? So pull the toes up, finding spot. So here I'm just doing a little back and forth. The soleus is actually the muscle that starts out as that Achilles tendon, and the Achilles tendon kind of feeds into what becomes the soleus. So down here by the Achilles, we're not going to roll that tendon tissue, it's just too fibrous, but we're going to roll a little bit on the inside and a little bit on the outside. So this is below that gastroc, into that soleus space as well. And again, just moving, I'm turning circles, doing a little bit in each direction. Okay, just about 30 more seconds. So spend time here, anywhere that you want to in your calf area. All right, then we're going to come up and stretch the calves, and then work our way back down to the mat. So once we come back down to the mat, we will stay down here. But I am going to ask you to come up here so we can spend a little time stretching the feet and calves. Okay. All right, so coming on up, put the ball to the side. You can keep your brick. And if you have a brick, this is a great stretch for both the ankle and the foot. Put your ball of your foot right around the middle of the brick, depending on the size of your foot. Maybe it's a little bit further back. And then you're just going to rock back. So heel to the floor. Stack hip over heel. And then I'm spreading my toes wide on that brick. Okay? You can do something similar. You just have the wall. Put your toes on the wall. Heel into the floor. Okay? So the point is here that you're really kind of driving the heels down and then pressing the hips forward. So you get a nice stretch, especially in that soleus area, that lower part of the calf that we just rolled. And then you can do a little bit of a knee bend. So if you can see my back leg here, it's just bending, but I want to keep my heel down on the floor. Okay, so I haven't let my heel pick up. This is all the knee bend I can do today on this side. I'm guessing I can do more on the other side. I've just got a lot of tightness in that foot and ankle here today on this side. Good. And just go ahead and switch. Remember, I rule switch whenever you need to. Okay? So same thing here, whether it's on the brick or on the wall, right? I'm going to do the brick just so it's easier here for people to see what I'm doing. Heel into the floor. I'm stacked. My hip is over my heel, and I'll pull my shoulders back over my hip as well. And I'm actively pressing that heel down to the floor. Continuing with the breath. And then very slowly letting that knee bend. Keeping the heel anchored down on the floor. Good. And then we're going to continue with the top of the foot. So I'm going to take my toes and I'm going to drive them down and then press the front of the ankle forward. So when I say front of the ankle, I mean the space, right? Toes down, front of the ankle forward, tucking. And again, I've got my hip pretty much over my knee. This is where I was kicking something and my toes caught on the floor. I'm going to hold this here. Big inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Good. Same thing on the other side. Okay, so toes down, front of the ankle forward, tailbone tucked. Going to actively push forward. Okay, so I'm actively I'm trying to kind of dig my toes through sand here. I even get a little stretch, a little opening through the hip flexor as well. We're focusing on the front of the ankle, top of the foot here. Good. Now, first side. And you can use your wall, have your wall right in front of you here. I'm just not there because of the angle of the camera, but I encourage you to kind of put the hands on the wall here. So toes into the floor, heel is going to go straight up to the ceiling. So again, I'm actively pushing my toes down, and I'm actively reaching my heel up. Now that stretch is coming through the bottom of the foot, okay? Got the tailbone tucked. Maybe a little lengthening here through the hip flexor as well. Good, and switch. Same thing on either side. Okay, so I've got my toes down, heel up, right? Tailbone tuck, hip press forward. So think about that hip crease. Just reaching straight forward. Try not to let that rotation happen. Picking my heel straight up. Feeling that stretch on the bottom of my foot. Good. All right. So got a good roll of the feet, the calves, stretch of the calves, stretch of the feet. All right, let's work it up. Let's go from the knee up. So we're going to go into the quad here. So I want you to focus on knee, hip, right? Bony, find your bony landmarks. When I'm talking about hip, I'm talking about that head of your femur, right? And then down to the knee. I want you to find the middle, right? Horizontal middle. And then I want you to find the middle, the vertical middle. And we're going to go to the front side of that. Okay, so we're right here, rolling. I'll show you on this side. So we're rolling the quad, not the hamstring, but the quad here. On this outer edge here is called your vastus lateralis. Okay, so we're not rolling that IT band. That's kind of that stretch. It goes from the hip right all the way down to the knee, right down the middle. So we're to the front of that, right? So the vastus medialis, IT band, very much right nuzzle up next to each other, but try to find that more muscular tissue there, not the really ropey fibrous tissue, right? So I've got the ball up here, and I said mid, right, middle. We don't want to go down there. Down towards the knee is pretty much all IT band. We want to be up here where there's actually muscle tissue. So I've got the ball working this space here. I'm just doing little mini squats so I can move that ball, and it's just kind of going like this. Okay? And I can just rotate the leg, so now I'm kind of rotating the leg in and out. I'm finding a tight spot. I have one right here on this right side, so I'm just going to press, hold, and do a little bit of movement, right? And I can feel that all the way up into my glutes here. I'm a good knot on this right side today. All right, so switching to the other side whenever you want. So same thing, think of horizontal middle, think of the vertical middle, and you're going to put it under that front quadrant there, okay? On that muscular part of your quad. All right, and then that ball is just kind of going here. Stay in the quad right now. All right. I like doing this on the wall because you can control the pressure a lot more. You can do, of course, do this on the floor, kind of in a sideline position. But it's just, beware, it's just a lot more intense because you have gravity pulling you down as well. Okay? So I'm just going to give you a little tip here. You want to work the front of your quad, right? Without going down on the floor. You can use that brick to help you a little bit because the brick pulls the wall towards you and it allows you to, so if you look here, I've got the ball right here in the middle, right? So the ball, all the brick does is kind of pull the ball toward you so you don't have to be up against it quite so close, right? So now I'm just going to go up and down, and I'm working a little bit more the front of the quad, and I'm just kind of moving it in a horizontal pattern, going a little bit vertical down and up. Okay, big inhales and exhales. And then just switching to the other side. So again, we're working more the front of the quad here. You can also do this on the floor. I just want to show you on the wall And you can use a brick for this as well. I'm gonna show you on the wall, because again, when you're on the floor, it is just that much more intense. Okay? But if you can work your way up to the floor, you can let that, I think, let the muscles relax a little bit more and get into the tissues a little bit deeper here. So we're working just the front of the quad, right in this space. We will get to the hip. I will get into this whole hip area. Good. Okay, so since we're here, put the ball down for a sec. We're going to go ahead and stretch that quadricep space. Okay, so we just rolled it. Let's go ahead and stretch it. And on our quad stretch, remember we want that knee right tucked in next to the hip or right underneath the hip. We want it out here. And from this view, we also want it here, not back like that. So standing nice and tall. Roll that shoulder open, pull that heel in, and then if you can, push your foot into your hand and give that a hold. Feel that lengthening down the front of your quad. Big inhales and exhales. And then pull it back in nice and tight. And do that one more time. Kick, 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 hold, hold, hold. Go ahead and shake out that leg. Shaking out that quad, go ahead and switch to the other side. Right? So we're pulling in tight to start. Go ahead and kicking the foot into the hand and hold. And pulling that heel in again. And kicking one more time and hold. And bring it back in again. Good. All right. So shake that out. Really good shake. All right. Picking up the ball one more time. I'm going to roll that hip space and we'll finish down on the floor. Okay. So I'm going to work the lower glutes first, working that glute max, right? Doing a little horizontal, maybe a little diagonal pattern here. Right? If you find that ball and socket joint, imagine that ball just kind of working right up next to it. Don't be afraid to just kind of swing those hips here. And then drop down, kind of roll the ball all the way around. All right. So we're just digging in there, and I'm just going from one side to the other, right? Press and hold, giving tension where I need, right? Letting that ball just kind of nuzzle into the spaces. Do a little movement at the knee. Remember, if you find it, right, find a trigger point. You want to add movement at the joint either below or above. So here in the hip, obviously, easiest is to move the hip, but maybe it's just a matter of just kind of doing a little shimmy back and forth. And imagine if you have that knot, you're doing this number to just try to get it to release and relax. Right? So let's stay here on these lower glutes just for about 30 more seconds. And then we'll work into that upper hip space, upper glutes, before we go down to the mat and just finish in our stretch. All right, so now finding the bowling landmark of the top of our pelvis, right? The rim of the pelvis, we're gonna put the ball right below that, okay? Doing a little bit of a horizontal, right? Tailbone to outside of the hip pattern. Just getting that glute knee space. So again, think of that bowling landmark of that rim of the pelvis. Balls just below that space, and I'm working from right next to the tailbone all the way out to the hip. And I'm doing it on both sides. Okay. Now here, if you find a tight spot, I've got one like right, see if I can find it again, right here, right? So I'm gonna press hold. Now I'm gonna do a pin and stretch. I'm gonna push my hip into the wall. I'm gonna take that same side arm up to the ceiling, and then I'm gonna reach it away so I can feel as I push the ball into the wall, which is into that tight spot. Okay, that's my pin. And then I'm gonna reach up and reach away. That's my stretch. And I'm gonna reach up and reach away. Go ahead and just do about 30 more seconds here in this high glute space. And we'll come down to the floor and work on do some hip mobility and stretching here. All right, so coming down to the floor, and we're gonna start in a half kneel position. So if you have a little pillow or towel or something you want to put under the back knee spine, or if you want to roll up your yoga mat, we're going to go into this half kneel position here. So the knee that's down, okay, I want that knee under the hip. Also want to make sure that this pelvis isn't here, right? We're not getting a lot of arching through the back, but instead I want you to tilt that pelvis back, okay? If you have, imagine your bucket, you don't want your bucket tilted forward, you want your bucket level, and now we're going to press forward. So here you're going to get a nice stretch into that hip flexor. If you have tightness in the quad, you might even feel it here. We really got to make sure that that pelvis is tilted and is level here. So I'm going to press forward. You can take that same side arm up, reach up, climb the ladder like you're reaching up for the ceiling, and then you can go over for a little lateral reach as well. So this is getting right down the front of the hip, a little bit of that lateral hip. Good, come back to the middle. Now we're gonna go hands to the floor. All right, so you can stay here, or you can tuck that back toe, pick up the back knee. Now we're getting a little bit more stretch here in that front quad, front hip flexor as well. So you notice I'm rocking a little bit front to back. You can add a little rock side to side. So yes, I'm stretching the back leg, but I'm also opening up the hip, that front hip as well. Good, and bring that back knee down if it's not already. And see if you can get down as low as you can. And you can certainly use your brick or your books here to bring that floor up a little bit higher. And I just want you to get down here and just try to relax into this position a little bit. Good, and coming on up. I'm going to switch to the other side. Okay. So in that runner's lunge or half kneel here, right? Make sure, don't let that pelvis be rocked forward. Tilt it back, right? Then we come forward. All right, leg that's down, that arm can climb the ladder, climb, reach up. You can add a little bit of lateral reach. Remember, the key is the hips still press forward here. So even if we're reaching up and over, the hips still go forward. The hips don't shift. They're still pressing forward. Good, and then we're gonna come down, hands inside that front foot. Again, Picking the back knee up if you can. If not, just leave the knee down. Do a little rock side to side here. So again, open up this front hip, getting a stretch on the quad and the front of the hip on that long leg behind. Active here, so I'm reaching my head forward and then reaching my heel back. Go ahead and bring that back knee down. Coming down, hands to the floor, elbows to the floor inside that front foot. And again, you can use your brick or your books just to bring that floor up a little bit higher here. But I want you to be in a position where you can just take a few breaths here and release. I don't want it to be so painful that you're just so tight. So just how you need. All right, coming on up. We're going to finish up here on the floor. So I'm going to do a modified pigeon. If you want to do regular pigeon, you are more than welcome to do that. Modified pigeon is back knee at 90 degrees. Front knee bent at 90 degrees, trying to get that front leg parallel. And then just coming down to the floor. And again, you can use your aids here. Bringing your brick in if you need. Right, so 90, 90, you can see better from this angle. So I'm going to come down right over that front leg and just relax into the stretch here. Good. And then coming up, we're going to roll to the other side. Right? Heel back, leg forward, coming over the front. All right, so now we're just going to do some simple hip mobility. You can put your hands back behind you, and all we're going to do is just roll from one side to the other. Right? So one hip is rolling in, one hip is rolling out. We're just loosening up the hips. And as we go here, you can add a little press up and over. That feels good. Really pressing the front of the hip forward. And just do a couple more to each side. Good. All right, so I'm going to turn this way. So just doing that in and out. Right, and then I'm going to come here, and I'm going to take my foot and just gently put it on top of that side. So, and I'm pressing that hip forward. So I'm giving a little stretch here in the front. So remember we talked about IT band. IT band is very fibrous tissue, comes up into what's called your TFL. Lots of muscles in here as well, but we just want to think about just kind of pressing that hip forward. How do we do that? Right, squeezing that glute. And if the foot on top doesn't work, it certainly can just fit right here around the front of the knee, right? Same thing on the other side. So I'm going to roll here, right? Put that leg on top of that. It feels all right. And I'm just going to kind of press that hip forward, getting that stretch in the outside of my hip. Good. All right. So we're going to finish in Happy Baby and a little bit of a stirrup stretch. So go ahead and grab your strap, right? If you don't need it, you don't have to use it, but I want it there just in case you do. So we're going to start off pulling your right foot in, and let's lengthen the left out, right? So getting a little bit of a lengthening through that hip flexor and the left leg, that long leg, really reach that away, and then pulling the right knee in. Okay, now you can either keep that leg long, or you can bend it up if you need. So what we're going to do is reach through the inside of the knee, grab the outside of my foot, and just do a little bit of a half Happy Baby here. Right, so I can rock a little side to side. Now holding either the inside or the outside of the foot, whatever feels better to you is fine. But we want to think about the knee coming down outside, kind of aiming for that armpit if you can. And then just doing that half Happy Baby. And I guess, yes, you can use your band here, right? Have your band on your foot, and you can give it a little tug. And then from half Happy Baby, we're going to do what's called a stirrup. So I'm going to bring that foot in, right? I'm rotating that hip, and then I'm going to go out and up, getting a little bit through the hamstring. So I'm going to bring that foot in towards the center, and then out and up. And bring it in towards the center, kind of like we had in pigeon pose, right? And then I'm going to press out and up. And yes, can do it with the strap, right? So I'm going to use that strap to kind of help me bring that foot in. And then I'm going to press it out and up. And in. And out. And up. Right? And go ahead and switch sides. Right? So if you're using a strap, easiest thing to do is put that second foot in while the first one's in there, and then drop out. Okay, so we're going to do that hug in first. And then you can keep that long leg where it is or relax it up. Okay, I'm going to do that half Happy Baby. So grabbing the bottom of that foot, pulling that knee right towards the armpit. And then we're going to do that stirrup, so middle of the foot, or foot towards the middle of the body, then out and up. Foot towards the middle, and then out and up. Go ahead and just do a couple more here. Good. All right. So I'm just going to finish with our breath here. And this is where you can use your brick or your books again, right? To come into what's called a supported bridge position. So I'm going to lift up, place that brick or books underneath my pelvis. Now I want to find a spot that feels comfortable. I want you to feel like that your pelvis is fully supported here. You don't want to feel like you're going to rock off or roll off one side or the other. And then I'm just going to take you through a series of stretches here as options. So one is what we've already done, pull one knee in, pull lengthen the other leg out. This gives you a little bit more through the hip flexor. But make sure you hold each one. Give it at least 3 big inhales and exhales. Before you change sides or move on to the next one. Okay, so as we're breathing here, we're purposeful in our breath. I want you to imagine the breath coming in through the belly, but it's also expanding the diaphragm and the rib cage. So I want you to think about not just a belly breath. Instead, try to think about that breath being more of a 360 breath, meaning that we want breath, yes, to go into the belly, but we also want the breath to go into those tighter spaces of the rib cage, right? So can we think about expanding the rib cage front to back? Can we think about expanding it side to side? And then when we exhale, we send everything down towards the belly. Right? So inhale, think about 360 breath. And exhale, down towards the belly, but the belly button's pulling in and then the pelvic floor pulling up. Okay, we give you another option here. Is bottoms of the feet together, just letting the knees right open up to the side. Arms can be up as well. Good. Now, come out of it, make sure you put your knees bent, feet flat. Do a little bridge here, just so you can slide your brick or your books out. Come down slowly to the floor. Bring in one knee, and then the other knee coming to this kind of knees to chest pose. Maybe get a little rock side to side. And try a few of those 360 breaths here in this position as well. And if you have time, spend a little time in child's pose, right? Just flip that over. Come into child's pose with either your hands forward or next to your side. And really think about that 360 breath. As you inhale here and that belly expands, your belly can only go so far. So it kind of forces, you can feel that space into your back, your lower back, your sides of your rib cage. As you really inhale and the exhale, release. Got it. So I encourage you to spend some time there working on your breath in any position that feels comfortable to you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of this beautiful, beautiful day. And I'll see everybody on Wednesday. Bye-bye, guys.